Welcome back to Rewind and Learn. Today we're tackling one of the toughest questions in philosophy and theology. How do Catholics respond to the problem of evil? If God's all-loving and all-powerful, why does evil exist at all? Now, Catholics don't ignore this question. Instead, they respond to it in several ways. So let's rewind and learn. First up, one of the strongest Catholic responses is called the free will defence. Catholics argue that God created humans with free will. Free will allows genuine love and goodness, and without free will, humans would be like programmed machines. If humans are free, they must also be free to choose wrong. Moral evil, therefore, is caused by humans, not God. The philosopher Brian Davies argues that a world without free will would not be morally better, just more controlled. And then we're back with St Augustine and St Thomas Aquinas this time. Catholics follow their teachings that evil is not a thing. St Augustine wrote his Enchiridion, evil is an absence, a privation of good. Just as darkness is an absence of light, disease is an absence of health. Evil exists when the good is missing. So this supports the belief that God did not create evil. God created a good world, and humans damage goodness through misuse of free will. Another Christian view, this time Protestant, comes from philosopher John Hick. Hick argues that suffering allows humans to grow morally. Without suffering, there would be no compassion, no courage, no generosity. Hick believes suffering is soul-making. It helps us develop. And from a Catholic view, acts of agape, sacrificing selfless love, often arise because others are suffering. And then one of the big Catholic sources of evidence, Salvifici Doloris, from Pope St John Paul II, a letter written to people teaching that suffering has meaning even if it remains mysterious. He describes suffering as a mystery, but he says it links humans to Christ. Christ's suffering gives our suffering value, and God's love is revealed through this suffering, not destroyed by it. He says we must look to the revelation of divine love in our suffering. He also states in this that suffering is hard. It doesn't back away from that. But the Pope insists that suffering should not lead people to reject God's existence or goodness. Equally, perhaps we don't always understand suffering. American philosopher William Alston argued that humans are limited in our understanding of God. Perhaps we can't see the bigger picture, and God's reasons may be beyond human comprehension. This echoes what the story of Job teaches in the Bible, where Job suffers, but God gives him an overview of the world and says there are things that you cannot possibly understand. Now, this doesn't prove God doesn't exist, just that our human understanding is limited. So, let's wrap up. Catholic responses to evil and suffering in the world include the free will defence, evil as a privation of good, suffering can be soul-making, Jesus' suffering gives meaning, and we need to trust in God beyond our understanding. And that's the Catholic response to the problem of evil. Thoughtful, complex, and exam ready.